laying upon my life and upon my
What's going on, fruitcakes? It's John coming at you, pre-recorded. Apartments in San Antonio, Texas. Yeah, this is John Tyler, Ponderings During the Pandemic, Volume 3. Most likely the final installment of this incredibly successful podcast. I think the last one received 22 views. That's worldwide. 22 people other than me. Well, I listened to it about 3 times, so subtract 3 from 22, carry the 1. 19 people. It's incredible. 19 people actually took the time to listen. That's one of the things I love about Google Google owns YouTube, is when they say 22 people listened to your video, you can be assured only 22 people did and not one person over 22 did. That's an accurate count. That's incredible. I just feel a special bond to every last one of you, all 19 of you. And we're gonna probably put this whole pandemic thing to bed here, and this will probably be the last one. You know, the pandemic thing kind of, it's sort of losing its luster. This, hanging out in the house and wearing the masks, and nobody's really afraid of coronavirus. It doesn't seem like anymore. You know what I mean? It seems like, I can't say nobody. I'm not polling everybody on planet Earth, but it just seems like, I was in a different state. Was it last week or whatever it was? I was in a different state and had gone into a chain store that if I said the name of this chain store, you'd all recognize the name of the store. And went in there one morning to pick up some things. I was traveling, so I wanted to pick up a few things. And the person that was cashing me out at the register wasn't wearing a mask. And about 50%, I would say, of the people inside the store weren't wearing a mask. And I thought, this is odd. I mean, in Texas, you walk into a store or any type of public place or business, and you don't have something over your face. You got like 2 or 3 voices yelling at you. Mask! Coronavirus getting on your brain and causing you to, get sick or whatever. And I thought that was odd. I didn't say anything about it. I was wearing a mask, or I was wearing a face covering. And went in the same place later that day, same store, several hours later, and the person working at the register at that time wasn't wearing a mask. And neither were about half of the people that were in there. So there's different attitudes in different parts of the country, I've noticed. Or it sure seems that way. But it's like we're not really afraid anymore of coronavirus. It's just getting old. And you know what I think the problem is? That I think what the general public is discovering is that and this isn't going to be signed off on, this comment isn't going to be signed off on by any medical professionals, but it just seems to me that most people are seeing that, your run-of-the-mill patient with this sickness isn't as ill as we were led to believe. You've got a small fraction of the population that catches a highly contagious sickness, and that small, I'm talking about the small amount of people that, really get sick and can't breathe and require hospitalization. I mean, but the vast majority of people, this really isn't a horrible sickness. So I think that's what they're facing now, is people are just getting, a little bit fed. I'm not tired of it. I mean, I don't like wearing the masks or anything, but I don't think it's that big of a deal anymore. I just, I'm looking forward to all this being over with and us getting a vaccine so we can move on with our lives. I think I posted on my blog that the United States State Department has issued me a new passport, which is an exciting thing. I mean, now I can actually fly outside of the continental United States and land in a different country, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. And I was thinking about maybe places that I've been before. I'd like to go back to England sometime. I'd like to go back to Australia, and I'm actually leaning towards Australia at this point. Possibly the other coast, Sydney. Did Perth the other time. Went to Perth the other time. And, of course, you can hear, if you're interested in that, I have another podcast that I recorded when I got back, and I'll link to that below. But, it's just I don't want to fly overseas. I don't want to fly anywhere, for that matter, during this pandemic thing. It just takes the fun out of it when we're having to put something over our face every time we walk out of the house or into a public building. You know what I'm saying? Is anybody else feeling that? Maybe I'm being irrational, but let's face it, most of us don't travel overseas super often. So when I do it, I want to make sure that I'm maximizing the fun and excitement I can have, and with a piece of cloth wrapped around my head, I think I'm putting myself at a little bit of a disadvantage on the fun part of life. But we got to get that vaccine. I'm just pulling for Dr. Fauci and his warriors of love. I know they've got that coronavirus in a little petri dish, and they're just looking for a way to make that thing just disintegrate. And we're pulling for him and all his warriors of love. Sweetie, you know how long we've been doing this and me talking to you here on the internet machine, and I'm just looking forward to that day that we get to hang out together, and just know that I'm still here for you, that I haven't moved on in a sense. I'm still single, unmarried, and I'm still here for you. Some of y'all probably wonder, who is this person that you talk to? Are you just talking out into the cosmos, into the internet land, and hoping it'll land on some sort of fertile soil, the right pair of ears? Well, in a sense, yes, but no, really. I always have somebody in my mind. Who do you have in mind? Well, see, I can't reveal their name because I don't know that they would appreciate that, and that might bring undue attention to them. But, yeah, I always, when I tweet or when I'm on the internet machine here on these great podcasts talking to you guys, and I'm talking to her, it's always one woman that I'm thinking about. Now, I may never end up with that woman. I hope so. Hope we'll get a chance to meet up someday. But who knows? All I know is that I'm still crazy about you after all this time. Isn't that amazing? It would have been great if we could just, maybe spend some time together and we could fall in love. That would be wonderful. But maybe it is love, right? Think about how long this has been going on. And if we're still feeling this way about each other after all this time, you start to think, well, maybe we really ought to pursue this thing. Maybe there's something to this, right? But who knows? Maybe that one person that I always speak to on here, maybe they've moved on with their life. I don't know. They may have a husband and 2 or 3 kids by now. I have no idea. No way of knowing at this point. And if that's the case, we're very, very happy for her, and we celebrate that. But we'll just keep that dream open. We'll just keep that hope alive. And, I'm living in San Antonio now. Lots of wonderful young ladies out here. Lots of wonderful old ladies out here. I'm not picking on the older ladies. I'm sure there's wonderful older ladies too. But, yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see what happens, baby. But you know how I feel about you. Remember how I told you on the other podcast how beautiful I think you are, how sweet I think you are, how gorgeous I think you are, how wonderful? All that still applies. None of that's changed. I still feel exactly the same way. Isn't that wonderful? Absolutely wonderful. Just great news. But we'll have to see what happens in that department. I had some things here. The main things that I wanted to chat with you guys about is the coronavirus. We're not really worried about that anymore. We're believing that we're on the downside of that and hoping that all that goes away. Thanks to all the healthcare professionals, nurses, doctors, scientists that are working on the vaccine, that are taking care of the ones that get really, really ill. We're just so thankful for you guys for all the hard work. We know that in some situations the healthcare organizations are being overrun and people are working their rear ends off taking care of all these patients and hoping they don't bring that sickness home. But some of y'all may be wondering, as I'm wondering, when are we going to get that vaccine? And I've heard everything from late this year to early next year, and Russia's claiming they have one, but we're not going to get that shot. You probably get that shot and turn into a tomato or something. I don't know. No offense to Russians. I'm sure that your scientists are working hard too, but we're just gonna wait on the one that Dr. Fauci and his folks who work, his warriors of love, are working on here. And just to keep you posted. We're gonna. The next excursion will most likely be overseas. And I'm also waiting on summer to pass. You guys, I don't know where you're listening to me today. I know there's only, you may be outside of Texas or outside the United States, but Texas in the summer months is not really conducive, in my opinion, to outdoor activities. If you're outside in the summer, you're always sweaty or feeling uncomfortable because it's too warm outside. I mean, it's, we're in the middle of a heat wave this week. I think this weekend they were saying it was like going to be over 100 degrees outside every day this weekend or something like that. It's nutty hot in Texas. I prefer cooler weather. The thing about Texas is, the weather in the summer is miserable, but the rest of the year is absolutely great. I mean, when it cools down, I love the winters here. It's chilly, but not too cold usually. And but the summer months, I'd like to get out and do some camping. I'm not really an outdoorsman too much, but I really want to get out and maybe go out. I'm in near the hill country here. And there's a lot of places around San Antonio and Austin that are good places to go camp, and just so I'm not hanging out in this apartment too much. We don't want to get too locked in. We're so afraid of coronavirus and all the other, whatever issues there are, so we don't go outside our homes. Eventually we'll want to get back out, and I'm just waiting on the summer months to be over. But first and foremost, we need to start planning on that next trip, and the next one will be outside the United States. So I'm pretty excited about that. And other than that, guys, just stay healthy. Wear those masks until they tell us we don't have to anymore. I wear a cloth face covering, which is completely fine. You don't have to wear a mask. You just have to have a cloth face covering. It does count. I actually saw there's a place I get gas over by here, and they had a sign up outside: "Do not come in this store without a mask. A shirt does not count." Well, a shirt. It's unfortunate they don't know what they're talking about, but any type of cloth face covering counts and is safe. And so let's give grace to people that don't know what the heck they're talking about. But I still buy gas from them even though they don't know what they're talking about. But you guys keep doing what you're doing, and we'll chat with you again soon. This is probably the last Ponderings during the pandemic. I'm tired of the pandemic. This is old. This coronavirus thing is getting old and boring, and we want to move on to something a little bit more happy and grounded in love and joy and peace, and no more disease and sickness. It's just, it's getting old and boring, like me. I'm kidding, man. I'm having so much fun, you guys. You would be so surprised how much fun we're gonna have once this old coronavirus things. We're just getting stronger. We're feeling stronger. It's gonna be great. So chat with you guys later. Remember, everything you need to find out is at pinnaclecreative.net. That's where my blog is. We'll chat with you guys later. Atsananufidi Semplu. Soges Sigis Eres Tu.